Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys. Thursday, November 21st, Ian Cameron and Alex B. Smith. We'll have Matt Robinson, who is returning from the rink, actually, is what he told me. He'll be joining us in just a little bit as well on this Thursday. A huge Thursday slate coming up. We'll try to maintain attention and focus where it needs to be, and that is doing and hosting this show, even though there's wall-to-wall college basketball going on today, this afternoon, and probably for the next week as we sweat out some of these early bets in a different sport. But we're talking about the pucks, as always, on this show. And looking forward to a big card tonight. First, as always, we'll look back on a Wednesday night that was pretty interesting. How about the Carolina Hurricanes? A 4-1 win against Philadelphia. Best bet for me was the Canes team total over 3.5 on the show yesterday. With that result, 4-1 for Carolina last night, the Hurricanes have now scored at least 4 goals in 12 of their last 13 games. It's been quite the remarkable run for the Hurricanes of consistency. And the thing about them getting to 4 goals, 12 of the last 13 games, is that a lot of times you get 4 goals, you're going to win. You know, that's usually the kind of number. You get that on a regular basis, you're going to win yourselves a lot of hockey games. And that's exactly what the Carolina Hurricanes have done during that stretch. So it's been an impressive run. I thought after the first 2 periods, even though it was 1-1, I thought, Carolina a little unlucky. They didn't score a couple more goals. I mean, credit Fedotov made this heroic save in that period as well, but eventually the floodgates opened and they broke down the Flyer defense a little bit, and they got to the back of the net there 3 times in the third period to make it that 4-1 victory over the Philadelphia Flyers last night. Vegas and Toronto, great performance by Joseph Woll. He is back. He was absolutely tremendous last night because I thought Toronto had a good start. But in the second period, when it was 1-0 Leafs, it was all Vegas. It was all Vegas there in that second period, and Joseph Woll had to be absolutely phenomenal with the performance last night, especially trying to hold that lead when he did it in the second period, because Vegas was certainly the better team. Toronto regrouped. They had a very good third period. They kind of got control of the game back, and it certainly helped that they got an early third period goal. They then stretched the lead to 3-0 with the empty netter, and they shut out the Vegas Golden Knights 3-0 last night. A game where, look, it was definitely more even than the final score indicates, especially that second period, which was heavily tilted in Vegas' favor. But credit to the Toronto Maple Leafs and to Joseph Woll, who have kind of mastered, or at least figured out how to defend leads. I've never seen them play as good of a group of a brand of hockey with a lead, protecting it like Toronto has this season. And that's the Craig Berube effect, taking hold. And the beat keeps on going for Toronto without Austin Matthews. It's almost scary to think how they're going to play when he does come back, even though you should be better when you get Austin Matthews back. But the record that the Leafs have without him just continues to be absolutely tremendous. So a 3-0 win last night for Toronto. And those 2 youngsters, first NHL goal for Fraser Minton, who was one of the call-ups last night to replace some of the injuries. Remember, Matthews is still out. Max Domi's out now. David Kampf is out. And Ryan Reeves was suspended, first game of his suspension. So they called up Fraser Minton. He gets his first NHL goal. That Nikita Grabenkin was tremendous last night as well. He was hitting everything in sight, going to the front of the net, playing with a ton of energy, great on the forecheck. Very impressive debut from him, too, even though he didn't get on the score sheet. Just as impressive in the postgame, too, with his broken English, because he's still learning the English language with the forecheck, backcheck, paycheck, Letterkenny line to the media in the postgame, and laughing. That's what he's learned from his teammates, apparently, in English over the course of the day. And he was laughing. You can already tell that guy's a character, and you need some of those on your hockey team. So that was funny stuff from Nikita Grabenkin last night in the postgame. Nice win there for Toronto. Dallas bounces back. They beat San Jose 5-2 last night. So a good win for them, responding after the dud against Anaheim in the game before that. You look at the Stars, Jason Robertson gets on the board, Jamie Benn gets on the board. Wyatt Johnston scores, and you like to see that for a guy that definitely hasn't had that offensive season we all thought. A nice, solid, workmanlike effort from the Dallas Stars last night, beating San Jose by a score of 5-2 there. Seattle with the 3-0 shutout win against Nashville. So system play goes down yesterday in that game as first period over and full game over falls short. I'll tell you what, it was a pretty good game still from Saros, even in a losing effort, because I thought Seattle was definitely the better team. He kept them in it for as long as he could, but not much offense to speak of. And a nice 24-save shutout from Joey Decord. This is another young goalie that Alex and I like quite a bit, and he continues to play pretty solid for the Kraken, and he delivered a nice shutout performance last night in the win against Nashville. And we wrapped up the night on a great note. We took the big plus price, plus 156 with the Buffalo Sabres last night, and it was a nice, solid victory for the Buffalo Sabres last night. I thought they played a great road game, very tight defensively. LA did make a push in the third period, a very big push, and I was getting worried because 10 minutes, 8 minutes when we were counting down late in that third, LA was really pressing. But boy, UPL was strong. It was one of his best games of the year in net for the Sabres, and Buffalo hangs on for a big 1-0 victory to start their road trip the right way. So very solid road win. And like I said, I was worried about LA in that spot last night, and Buffalo takes care of business against them. That's 2 victories in a row for the Sabres in LA against the Kings. You may want to file away for future reference next year when those 2 teams play each other in LA once again. Alex, your thoughts on what we saw Wednesday?
Well, system played, 1 goes down, but we've got 3 new contestants basically coming up now with all these shutouts. So it was a good night for the goaltenders throughout the league. And like I said, Buffalo. I think that was the most impressive of the wins was that 1-0 against LA. To see UPL, he's a guy who we like I said, been a little up and down at times with, and wonder, can this guy be a number 1 goalie in this league? But if he can turn in more performances like that, certainly he can shore up the issues that Buffalo's had for a long time trying to find goaltending. So that's a good win for them. And watched some chunks of that Nashville Seattle game early. Uzi Saros was just absolutely insane in that contest, despite losing in the shutout effort. He made a ton of saves, and it crushed us for those who had the first period over. That was my best bet. He easily took 2 goals away from Seattle early in that contest. That game could have really been 5-0, 6-0. If it wasn't for Saros playing well in the first 20 minutes of that contest. So, it's just important, to show you how important goalies are. You have these kind of nights, and that's the thing. It's those slow Wednesdays. It's those, Fridays in the middle of January where, you're not, it's not the most exciting matchup, but your goalie stands up and gives you 35 saves, gives you a shutout, and you steal 2 points. Those points need to make a difference. Could be the, end all be all late in April.
Yeah, they sure do. There's no doubt. Matt is with us now, Matt Robinson. I know the Dallas Stars were probably the focal point of your Wednesday night in the NHL, but your thoughts on what we saw last night?
Honestly, as I've mentioned before on the show, I always enjoy the Wednesday slate with the TNT broadcast. So I did tune into portions of both of those games that were on TNT. Couple notable points. I'm sure you guys dug in pretty deep, so I'll try not to be repetitive. But yeah, obviously Toronto took care of business. I was sort of expecting that. I was pretty adamant in the chat that I'm not taking Vegas on the road, especially against any team that's in the top half of the league. Obviously, if they're on the road, playing an Anaheim, maybe I take Vegas. But when they're playing a respectable team, they just don't seem to have it on the road like they do at home. Obviously, the Carolina hit, which I know is Ian's best bet. That was an easy hit, not a big sweat. It honestly could have. There was a couple other chances in the first. It really should have been more than 1-0, but obviously got there to 4 with a couple goals in the third, so that was good to see. Yeah, Dallas, San Jose, a little closer than maybe I would have hoped if I'm the Stars, but at the same time, I really felt like they were in control most of the game. They give up the shorthanded goal, sort of a weird play, kind of a weird bounce, couple stick checks. Typically the puck wouldn't still be there. Andre comes out, it's kind of chipped over him. It was sort of a weird play. And right before that, they actually had a couple chances on the power play. So, and then, the late goal that makes it sort of a nail biter. And then they obviously get the 2 empty nets. But overall, I felt like they were in pretty good control of the game. There wasn't a lot of, even when it was 3-2 with a few minutes left, I wasn't, super stressed about it. I thought Ottinger played pretty well for the most part. And it was good to see a line besides the Duchesne, Sagan, Marchman line start to chip in. All three of those guys on the top line scored. Jamie Benn, I mentioned him in the chat yesterday. It seemed like a good spot for him. He was able to find the back of the net. So while I was riding the Duchesne, Marchman, Sagan props into yesterday, I also had anytime goals on those 4 players as well. Just seemed like when they put Robertson back on the top line and had Wyatt up there with him, that a spark was going to hit eventually. And then obviously Rupe gets the empty net chip in, which was nice. I also had a Wyatt Johnston assist prop that was hit because of that empty net goal. So all good to see. And then as far as the late games, I didn't stay up. I know it's not late my time, but I didn't watch a ton of it. I was more following on my phone for those games. It did seem like Seattle kind of dominated. It's starting to get to the point, is Nashville just not going to be good this year?
We're waiting for that run. Like, where's that 8-1 run? Where's that 6-1 run? Where's 7 of their last 10 games? Where is that kind of streak for Nashville? We're waiting on it. We have not seen it yet. Maybe we won't see it.
Yeah. And so, we'll see, but eventually we're going to hit the holidays, we're going to hit the new year. And if it's still the same old thing, then maybe it's just not their year to even make the playoffs, which is pretty shocking after the big free agency signings that they had. And then for that last game, obviously a boring game if you want goals. There was a lot of action in the portions that I did watch, a couple crossbars, a couple posts. I didn't mention in the chat, it was actually a buddy of mine that dropped a bet before the game started, and he had Fraser Minton and Alex Turcotte parlayed together. So I was really hoping Turcotte would score because obviously Minton scored, right out of the gate for Toronto. Yep. I think that was something like $2.50 to win $155.
Of course, nobody scored for LA last night. Yep.
Yeah, and had he scored the first goal, I also had a little couple bucks on him to score the first goal, which obviously I think it was plus 3,000. So if Turcotte had scored the first goal, it would have been a really good night. But overall, it was pretty solid. Kind of a middle pack night since I did have some big props on the Sagan Duchesne line that was kept off the score sheet. But thankfully some other anytime goals hit for me. But yeah, again, always enjoy the Wednesdays. Love the broadcast. They do such a good job. There was some really comedic points, and then there's also the points where they, did the talking about cancer and, things like that. So yeah, obviously a little bit of an up and down, emotional night. I always enjoy seeing the videos pregame, like the Stars, Jamie Benn, talking to a young kid that's going through cancer, and then he obviously did the starting lineup. That kind of stuff's awesome.
Hockey
obviously brings a tear to your eye. Yeah. It's an emotional, awesome, but it's good to see things like that. And I know for people that are going through that, they appreciate the support and getting the opportunity to do those things. So big card tonight. So I'll shut up and let us get into it.
No, just one last thing on that. Yeah, the TNT broadcast, I mean, it's always entertaining. Like, they put on such a great studio product. It's just insane how good it is and how much better it is than most of the shit you see on sports television. But especially Eddie Olczyk's moment there, talking about his battle with cancer. And he's always, every time he talks about his own experience, he talks about, yes, the person that's suffering and battling cancer deserves all the support they can get. The people caring for that person suffering from cancer, they deserve support too as well, because it is as difficult. It's such a great point. It is just as emotionally taxing on the family and the friends and the people closest to that person who is battling cancer. And you got to reach out and help them. as well
Yeah.
during that time. So there's no I always like that when Eddie talks about his own experience, he talks about that and that hey, the family, they deserve that kind of attention as well because it's just such a hard experience for them too. And like he says, he always credits the family for him still being here. And it's like I said, I just think everything he said is just so spot on. That yes, when battling cancer like that, how hard it can be on the family and friends closest to that person.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he always said, especially, when he was battling it as he was a member of the Hawks broadcast, and he talks about how, he said relying on, if it was for his wife and his children and even the family that he had, the people that he cared about that were close to him within the Hawks organization, that how they helped him through. But like you said, it's tough on everybody. I know personally, someone, my mom is a breast cancer survivor, and those were tough moments. And even though she was able to beat the cancer, there's many others who aren't, and many others who go through these struggles and battle time and time again, and it's hard on everyone. So like you said, it's an emotional moment, but it's also great, and it's great that we honor those who have survived, and we also honor those who didn't make the fight but fought the fight. And so it's always great and important to have those nights around the league, and certainly to have someone like Eddie O kind of be a cornerstone figure within the TNT network, the Turner network, talking about that.
I love what he said at the end. You can always hope that we're going to get to that point with the research and the money and the dollars that are being poured into cancer research. We can always hope that we're going to get to the point where it's not just hockey fights cancer anymore. As Eddie said, it's hockey beats cancer.
Yeah.
We can all hope for that because there's people in my life and friends of mine that have suffered from it, that have seen parents of theirs suffer from it. So, like I said, the battle continues to try to find a legitimate, answer and solution and cure for cancer. There's no question about that. Let's turn our attention to hockey. I noticed in the chat that I knew that Vegas Shark comment was going to get Matt's attention. I just knew it. And sure enough, it did. All right, let's go to Thursday in the NHL. We've got Tampa Bay and Columbus. Tampa Bay minus 180 road favorites, 6.5 being the total here in this game. Now, Jonathan Davis, who was on our betcast the other night, and his work's fantastic too. He does the NHL. He's the head NHL content person for VSiN with their product, and he was armed and equipped with all these trends and stats and numbers when he joined us on the betcast on Tuesday night. I was very impressed, but I know he made a case for Columbus in this spot, and I know one of the things he said on Tuesday night, and I agree, this is a shit spot for Tampa. They've won 3 in a row. They came back from the dead against Pittsburgh, down 2-0, won in overtime 3-2, and Braden Point's return, and Braden Point gets the overtime game-winning goal as well. And you know who Tampa's got after this game against Columbus? They got Dallas at home on Saturday. Then they have Colorado at home Monday night. And then they play Washington, a huge divisional, or not a divisional game, but a huge Eastern Conference game on Wednesday night. So 3 really good teams, 3 really good opponents after this. So do you maybe don't have your best year? Are you looking past Columbus a little bit? And the Jackets have won 2 of the last 3. They beat Boston. They're the team that kind of was that final push out the door, if you will, for Jim Montgomery with that 5-1 win the other night. Meanwhile, you look at what they did, obviously, their last home game. Now, it was Pittsburgh. We don't think highly of Pittsburgh, but they still won that game by a score of 6-2. It's a little bit of a tricky little scheduling spot here, in my opinion, for Tampa Bay. Now, we don't know who's in net. Vasilevsky is projected, but there's no confirmation yet. And the pattern I've seen recently, Alex, I don't know if you've noticed this, but John Cooper, is the later in the day we don't see Vasilevsky confirmed yet, the more it's not going to be him.
Yep.
And I'm starting to think it's a Jonas Johansson kind of night here in net for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And, Johansson is what he is. He's capable, of certainly stepping up and playing well, but is he consistently doing that for you? No. So it's obviously when you're talking about Vasilevsky to Johansson, it's a downgrade, regardless of the current form or whatever you call it, with Jonas Johansson going into a game like this here tonight. His numbers this year, by the way, if you're wondering, they're not good. 4.52 goals against, 866 save percentage tonight for Johansson. Now, I have a belief he's going to play and start tonight for Tampa. I already lean Columbus a little bit. I think I'll add the money line if it's Johansson. I've already bet the team total over 2.5 for the Jackets here, minus 140. That I do like. Even if it is Vasilevsky, I think I would take my chances that they could get 3 goals tonight. Like I said, with Tampa Bay and this, like I said, this is a lull in their schedule potentially. Even though they played pretty solid, they didn't play great in my opinion against Pittsburgh, but they found a way to win. And then they've got those 3 huge showdowns on tap with really good opponents: Dallas, Colorado, and Washington, all in a row. So I'm interested in the team. I've already locked in the team total. Might sprinkle that money line if I see Jonas Johansson confirmed. I do think it'll be him, and probably if it is him, we'll add a little piece of the overs as well, at least the full game over. Maybe turn it into a bifecta. We'll see. But that's all pending the confirmation of who John Cooper turns to in goal tonight in this game. Alex, what do you think here with this one? Tampa Bay, Columbus.
Yeah, this is a wait and see for sure, because I can't lay 140 on a team total of Columbus if it's Vasilevsky in that. I just can't do that. And I get the point. Like I said, this is one of those spots where it looks like Tampa Bay can lay an egg, and if it is Johansson in net, I will take a small piece of Columbus money line, but I gotta wait for that, because that's too big of a discrepancy, and it's hard to trust Columbus. If we're
5-3 at home though. 5-3 at home.
Yeah,
do have a winning
I know.
record.
I know they've played well at home, but
Yeah.
if I'm on Columbus tonight, it's because I'm fading Jonas Johansson and not so much supporting the Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
There's a couple of spots in the lineup where I'm looking at that. It's like, no, I can't necessarily back this team so much as I can fade a goalie. So I trust enough in plus 160 to fade Johansson, but other than that, this will be a pass.
And Tampa has owned Columbus. We should point that out. 8-2, 5-1 in the last 6 meetings, 8-2 in the last 10 meetings. Tampa Bay over Columbus, and they did win here last year, 4-2. That being said, the year before, Columbus did get a 4-2 win here at Nationwide against Tampa Bay. But like I said, I like the way they. Now Boston was horrible. I get it. Pittsburgh's not that good, the last home game they had, but they've played some better hockey here last few games. It was a brutal road trip for them. They had a really bad stretch, but now they've won 2 or 3. Confidence coming back a little bit. They do have a winning home record. They have one more home win than Tampa Bay has on the road. Columbus 5-3 at home. Tampa Bay, even after the win against Pittsburgh, they're still just 4-5. Tampa Bay on the road. And as we've talked about going back to last year, the road consistency still up and down for Tampa. Last year was really bad for them on the road. This year they've been a little bit better, but still some questions about game-to-game consistency away from Amalie Arena for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Matt, what do you like here, if anything? Lightning, Blue Jackets.
It's going to be a little repetitive. I feel like until we get the confirmation on goaltenders, it's almost a pass game for me at this point. I think there's some good value on Columbus. Similarly to how we talk about, the Floridas of the world, the high-end caliber teams typically after a big loss bounce back. Columbus had a big win in Boston. Obviously, Boston's a team that's struggling, but to go out and win 5-1, sometimes it's hard for teams that are in that lower echelon to kind of repeat that after getting the big win, bringing that same intensity. So I don't really like either side. I could see it being a spot. Columbus sneaks one out against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay being on the road, if they do end up starting a backup goalie. If Vasilevsky's out, I do think I may jump on the first period over in this one. But yeah, it's going to be a pass until we get some confirmation on goaltenders.
Yeah, no doubt. It's like I said, this is one of those perfect examples of a game where this is why you want to be a Patreon member, by the way. Patreon.com/IceGuys, just $10 per month, where we post sides, totals, and player props every day on the page. Check the picks page. Check the Patreon page later today. Because this is one of those games where I'm not moving and locking in everything for this game until I see where Tampa Bay is going with their goaltending. And this is where it helps to be a Patreon member. We don't have that info right now, but at 6:30 Eastern time tonight, we will have that info, and we will update the Patreon page with the bets we like in this game once we have that info. So again, all the more reason to be a Patreon member for games like this, where unfortunately when we record the show, we're a little uncertain how and what exactly we're going to move on until we hear the news of the starting lineups, and in this case specifically, who's in net for Tampa Bay. All right, next up, we've got Colorado and Washington. Avs -145, road favorites, 6.5, the total in this game. Now, the clear storyline here is Washington went to Colorado and beat Colorado last week. it is a rapid revenge, short turnaround revenge spot for Colorado in this game. Make no mistake about it. And obviously, we've talked about this, Colorado getting healthier. That's actually the only loss that Colorado's had in their last 5 games, was that 5-2 loss at home to Washington last week. But at the same point in time, you're laying $140 on the road against a Washington team that, is coming off 3 straight wins on that road trip against Colorado, Vegas, and Utah. Not the greatest of spots, but I like that they got an extra day off following the Utah game. 2 days off. They played against Utah on Monday, and now they got 2 days off. It's not a third game in 4 nights with travel situation, so that does help this team a little bit. And going into this game tonight, I just can't pass up, even without Ovechkin, and we know that's obviously the other big news, is Alex Ovechkin week to week injured in the game against Utah, collision with Jack McBain, and one that Tom Wilson, stepped up and fought McBain. Even though it was an accident collision, I think just happenstance. I like that it's Alex Ovechkin. We're not letting that slide. Something's got to be done here. I like that element of it from the Capitals standpoint and Tom Wilson of what happened there. I still like the price you're getting, and you know what you always get when an Ovechkin or a Crosby or a big-time player on the team is out for that first game. Everyone steps up, so it wouldn't shock me here tonight if that's in play and Washington gets them again. And I like the price, plus 125. But what I like even more than that is I like over bifecta and over trifecta in this game. Washington has gone over the first period overs in 9 straight, and Chris Otto pointed this out to me. Both teams to score is cashed in 9 straight, I believe, first periods involving the Washington Capitals. So take advantage of this. That's 9 straight Caps games with first period over and first period both teams to score, both hitting. Put that with the over trifecta. Colorado's an over machine again now that they got Lehkonen back and Drouin back and Big Val Nichushkin back. Their offense is revving up. So this is over trifecta for me. That's what I really like in this game. But I'm tacking on Washington at this price. Something tells me they step up for Ovi. Night 1 without him, and it is a competitive effort and a chance to win, even though Colorado's in revenge. Alex, what do you think here? Avs. By the way, Logan Thompson in net. So I know it's going to be Georgiev for Colorado. I'll take Thompson right now over Georgiev as well. That's not stretching the truth regarding that opinion. Alex, what do you think here? Colorado, Washington.
Yeah, I understand. Like I said, with Ovechkin out, this line would obviously be Caps as a dog, but plus 125 is a tad bit too much, especially when you're talking about a Colorado team that, yes, they're getting people back, they're getting into form, but they aren't there just quite yet. So I like Washington a little bit better. Being back at home, like I said, having that extra day in between also helps as well. I took them plus 125 at MGM, but I also have the first period over, and I have even more than the first period over that both teams have scored, as you mentioned. Great track run with these two teams. They're top 5 in the league in cashing in both teams to score in the first period. Washington, like 7-9-0 run with that. Definitely keep that rolling. Plus 158, I grabbed that FanDuel.
There you go. Again, 9 straight first periods with the Washington Capitals for the first period over, first period both teams to score have cashed as well. You could also do a correct score 1-1. You could do correct score 1-1, 2-1. Those are the correct scores you want because you're talking about 9 straight first periods where both teams have scored. So you could do a 1-1. You could do a 2-1 correct score for even both teams. Like you could do 1-1. You could do 2-1 for each team. And if you hit one of those, you're going to be profitable. It's not a bad approach. I mean, take advantage every which way you can of this 9 straight games where both teams have scored in the first period and Washington Capitals scores. Yep.
So FanDuel's correct score. Tie 1-1 is plus 550. Tie 2-2 at 2,800. And then if you want to go 2-1 Avs or 2-1 Caps, you're talking about Avs 12-1 at 2-1. Caps lead 2-1 at 1,400. So I might sprinkle in on those.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the big concern for all this over talk is Ovechkin is a big piece of the Washington offense. There's no doubt with the way he's been scoring. But the good news for Washington is they've had other guys that have really been good in addition to Ovechkin early in the year. It's going to be difficult. You don't want to lose 15 goals and 10 assists and 25 points in 18 games, which is what Ovechkin's delivered. No question. But Strome's given you 28 points. Connor McMichael's been a goal-scoring machine, 12 goals, 7 assists, 19 points. I know with Ovechkin off that line now, we're worried a little about the chemistry and what this means to our guy Alexei Protas, who has been absolutely amazing this year and playing with Strome and Ovechkin. But he's still very capable offensively. It looks like, and by the way, with Ovechkin gone, that opens up an opportunity for a value prop for Washington. Who's going to fill that void on the top line? The answer, Andrew Mangiapane. Andrew Mangiapane, the former Calgary Flame, looks to be primed to take that spot alongside Strome and Protas on the top line for the Washington Capitals. And I know he's gone in a little funk. He's only got 1 goal in the last 6 games for the Washington Capitals, Mangiapane, but he's going to get that opportunity here tonight. It's 8 straight, Chris says. Sorry, not 9 straight, 8 straight. Both teams to score in the first period. 9 straight first period. Oh, still pretty damn good. So still worth it as far as the over trifecta is concerned, no doubt. And Andrew Mangiapane, absolutely. Goal prop is worth a look because he's moving up the lineup, playing with Strome and Protas tonight on the top line.
I just did some quick digging on Washington. In each of their last 4 games, they've had either a 2-1 or 3-1 lead after 20 minutes.
Yeah, wow. So you could even get adventurous 2-1, 3-1 even with the correct
That
score.
2-1 Capitals lead, 2-1 Capitals lead is plus 1,400. So I will have that in pocket.
Yeah, I think that is definitely something to, I mean, have some fun with this with you, and you can take advantage of 8 straight first periods with Washington, where they have scored, at least where each team has scored a goal in the opening. Both teams have scored in the first period 8 straight times in Washington games in the first period. Take advantage of it. There's no doubt. Yes, great point in the chat. Ivan was indeed was drafted. He was drafted by Colorado, but he's got no affiliation to Washington. He was drafted by them. Someone said if he was in the Capitals, no, it's not like a revenge deal for him where he's playing against a team that drafted him. He was indeed. He was actually undrafted. And then he got on with the Colorado Avalanche, but I don't see any history of him in association with the Capitals, organization. What do you think here, Matt, in this one, Colorado, Washington?
Yeah, I think this is a great spot for an SGP special. You mentioned it. OV is a big piece of why Washington is averaging the most goals in the league right now. But even without OV, they've been sort of a wagon. They've had other guys step up. Ryan Strome's had a good start to the season. He's a guy that he was in Chicago most recently. I know he's bounced around, right? Didn't get a qualifying offer, and then now he assisted like 10 straight OV goals. So obviously he's off to a good start. I think it will affect the team in the long run, but Ian, you mentioned it. I think, game 1 with OV out, I think they battle hard. So love goals, and Georgiev being on the other side of the ice. You take a top end offensive team, you take a bad goaltender, you take the Avs, who definitely can score goals as well. I think it's a great SGP. I'll be on the both teams to score. Don't love the sides here. I would definitely lean Washington, especially given the value. They're at home. They're getting plus money. I think some of that plus money is because of the OV injury. Colorado is getting some of their depth back. Obviously, Nichushkin's back in the lineup. It's one of those things. If this game was in Colorado, I'd lean heavy Colorado. Being in Washington, I do lean Washington, but I think I'm just going to over trifecta and SGP that first period in full game over 5.5. I think there's going to be a lot of goals in this game.
Yeah, and there are some Colorado props too that are of interest, and like I said, Protas and McMichael, it goes without saying as far as goal props. We've talked about a ton, but especially Mangiapane with the value because of moving up the lineup like he is. But for Colorado, Lehkonen, Drouin, Middlestat is on the second line right now for them. So there's a couple that I'd consider here as well. And by the way, it looks like for Colorado, we talked about how they're getting healthier. The only 2 they were looking at was Miles Wood and Ross Colton. Miles Wood returned a couple games ago. Ross Colton's closing in on a return. I don't think he's back yet, but Ross Colton is closing in on being back sooner rather than later for Colorado, and he was definitely playing well before his injury. So we'll keep an eye on that because he could be returning to the lineup soon as well. By the way, that Mangiapane goal prop for Washington, as far as the best price you can find with it right now, is pretty much plus 530 at Betano. There's some really good prices on that for Mangiapane getting that top line opportunity tonight, the first game without Alex Ovechkin. All right, Vegas and Ottawa. We've got the Senators minus 160 home favorites, 6.5 the total in this one. So Vegas is on a back-to-back. Tough spot, no doubt. Ottawa rested. Ottawa's been better at home than on the road. That being said, they did lose 5-2 to Edmonton at home in their last game. But I think this price has gone out of whack. I get it. Ottawa's got the rest advantage. They're still 5-4 at home, better than they've been on the road. But if you actually look at their home games, the last three, in fact, they've lost 3 in a row at home to the Islanders, the Flyers, and the Oilers. Meanwhile, you've got Vegas. I know they're on a back-to-back on the road. Not ideal. And I know they're battling a few injuries as well, this Vegas team, especially on the blue line with Nick Hague, Ben Hutton out, Mark Stone on IR. I get all that. But I think this price is out of whack now. I just do. I mean, we're talking, what, minus 160 right now with Ottawa? They were supposed to bounce back from getting shut out by Carolina Tuesday night against the Edmonton Oilers. And Edmonton was going into Ottawa that night on a back-to-back because they played in Montreal the night before. And then they had to play in Ottawa Tuesday night. That was just set up perfectly for Ottawa. And the betting markets agreed because Edmonton opened a minus 140 road favorite in that game. It got bet all the way down to even money. Ottawa actually closed as a slight home favorite. And then they get whipped by Edmonton 5-2 in their own building. That was supposed to be a bounce-back spot for Ottawa. At home, against a team playing their second night on back-to-back games on the road, just like tonight. This is supposed to be a bounce-back spot for Ottawa because they got beaten by Edmonton. You're facing a team, second night of a back-to-back on the road. Well, I didn't trust if they couldn't do it against Edmonton at an even money price, why would I lay minus 160 tonight and trust Ottawa to do that here tonight? I wouldn't. And Vegas's road woes continue to be a concern. There's no doubt. It's not like this is a bullish opinion on Vegas for me with the 3-6 road record coming to town and getting shut out by Toronto last night. And they haven't beaten a ton of quality opponents on the road this year outside of Edmonton when McDavid came back. But at this price now, I have to grab a little Golden Knights. I do. Plus 140. It's just gotten out of control. Just gotten out of control, in my opinion, on Ottawa now, minus 160. And this is a big move. This is minus 110 all the way to minus 160. That's 50 cents. I don't think it warrants 50 cents. I got to grab a piece of Vegas now, plus 140. I like that a little bit. But you know what I really like in this game? System play. In effect, Vegas off the shutout loss last night, 3-0 to Vegas, 3-0 to Toronto, rather. Now on a back-to-back, looking to bounce back. We have a history of overs with these two teams as well. Head-to-head, Golden Knights and Senators, 4 of the last 5 meetings have gone over. The last 2 games in Ottawa have been 5-4, 4-3 final scores as well. Higher scoring affairs in both games. Both games going over the total. So first period over, full game over here, Vegas and Ottawa with the system play in effect. Alex, Golden Knights, Senators.
Yeah, rocking with the system play, but I'm going in-game. Hoping for a 6 flat, looking for something closer to $1.10 or even plus money with a 1.5. But definitely believe there could be goals in this spot. Don't like anything on the side. Would lean toward Vegas. I know even though they struggled on the road, but at a plus price, I would trust them more than Ottawa. So just first period over, full game over, in-game at cheaper prices. And that's all I have for this one.
And Linus Ullmark confirmed in net, but shaky suddenly for the last 2 games for the Ottawa Senators. 10 goals on 50 shots in the last 2 games for the Ottawa netminder, Linus Ullmark. So we usually like him, but he's had a couple rough starts in a row coming into tonight. And you got Vegas off a shutout loss. They're going to be looking to get on track offensively here tonight. And to be honest with you, they could have scored a few goals last night. Joe Woll was really that good. He was just tremendous. And Ullmark might have to be that way tonight if Vegas is going to be kept off the score sheet once again. And then on the flip side, you got Ilya Samsonov, who actually has got decent numbers this year for the Vegas Golden Knights, but he's a guy that's still coming back from injury. You know, he got that first start against Washington back from the injury last week, and they lost 5-2. He gave up 4 goals. He was playing well before that, but has the injury set him back a little bit? We'll have to wait and see. And his numbers overall for the year still 3.15 goals against coming into this one. So I think Ottawa can get on the board as well. So fits the system play quite well, as I expect both teams to be getting after it offensively. Vegas off a shutout loss, and think about Ottawa. They're off the Carolina shutout loss and then only scoring 2 goals in the loss against Edmonton. So, they're going to be wanting to really focus on getting their offense on track as well. Matt, what do you like here, Vegas, Ottawa?
No sides here for me. I do think Vegas bounces back a little bit from the Toronto game, but I just still can't trust them on the road. I know that Ottawa is not the same team as Toronto. It's just one of those things. They are on a back-to-back, so you always risk. Maybe they'll come out strong and then kind of weed out. Ottawa gets back in the game. Something can happen there. But being a system play, I've been sticking to the SGP special with the system play as well, because I know generally we like the first period and full game over in those games. It knocks down the total down to 5.5, so you really only need to get to that 6 spot. And in this particular case, Vegas, Ottawa, SGP, 1.5, 5.5 is plus 115. So I like those odds. I'll definitely be on that. And then, as Alex mentioned, I may also try and get a live first period over if I'm tuning into this game. I think you can get it down, a couple minutes go by, get it down to like 110, even money, and then jump on it, because I do think there will be some goals in this game. But yeah, big play just for me. The only play for me pregame is going to be the SGP first period, full game over, 5.5 plus 115.
Can we get a repeat of Ottawa at Vegas earlier now that was the Nevada Day game. That was a little bit of a different circumstance, but back on October 25th, that Friday after 6 Eastern, 3 local time Nevada Day game, when it was these two teams, it was 3-2 after the first period, and the game ended 6-4. It was just a goal fest galore. Could we be in for something like that tonight? We'll have to wait and see. Does this mean you go maybe for an alternative over 2.5 first period tonight by chance? I might sprinkle on that, might dabble on that, because you get a really nice plus price on that over 2.5. I think that's what Matt did with the Edmonton Ottawa the other night on the BetCast, was some piece of over 2.5, right?
Yeah. So you can actually ladder those SGPs. I actually have it written down that for that Washington Colorado game, if you jump to 2.5, 6.5, so you're still taking the normal full game over, but just jump to 2.5, it jumps to plus 260. So with this game, it would be a little bit higher even. So if you like some goals early and you think, you're looking at least a 4-3 final, something like that, obviously some really good juice there if you want to ladder it. What I've been doing is hitting my normal unit on the traditional SGP and then maybe a half a unit on the laddered, because then if you get like the Edmonton Ottawa game the other night, 3 in the first, flies over the over, you hit both of them, it's a nice little hit. So something to think about for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Aaron. That's what we're playing in this game. Vegas Ottawa, it is a system play game. There's one other game that's a system play. Colorado Washington is not. That's just traditional handicapping for me, why I like overs in that game. And trends, with Washington being a machine right now with a full game and especially first period overs. This is the system play. And then there is a second game that is a system play as well, which we will get to in just a bit. All right, props, Dorofeyev, Barbashev, Nick Waugh for Vegas. For Ottawa, Michael Amadio. I always bet Michael Amadio against his old team, but he hasn't scored yet against Vegas now as a member of Ottawa. But I still like that angle, and I'll dabble in it once again with Amadio to score here one more time against his old team. See if he can finally crack the dent the twine. All right, Utah-Boston. This is obviously a game that will get a lot of attention tonight. The first game after the firing of Jim Montgomery. Joe Sacco, now the interim head coach, in his interim head coach debut, I guess you could say. Boston minus 140, home favorite, 6 the total in this game. Now, when this game opened, it was minus 170, and around that range with Boston. Obviously, I didn't love Boston at that price at that time. And I love my bet on the team after a coaching change angle. At that price, though, initially I was not going to get involved with it. But I have a hard time figuring out the brain cells in the betting markets to push this price to where it is right now. And I know what did it. People saw this morning, because it was around minus 165, minus 170 early this morning, Boston as a home favorite here against Utah. But the moment we saw Jonas Korpisalo confirmed as the starting goalie for Boston, the money just started to pour in hand over fist on Utah. And I don't get it. We're acting like Swayman right now is so much better than Jonas Korpisalo that we've got to just take everything in our bank accounts and in our safety deposit boxes and in our investment funds and put it all on Utah because Jonas Korpisalo is in net tonight instead of Jeremy Swayman. There is minimal difference between those two guys right now. In fact, I'll tell you right now, I'll be the first to say it because I've watched a lot of Boston. There's been times Korpisalo has been a lot better than Jeremy Swayman at times this year. So I don't get this logic right now. We're going to just, betting Utah is one thing if you have the opinion that Boston, the coaching change tonight is not going to change anything. It's not going to fix anything. And they're just so, just completely discombobulated as a team and as a roster right now where you just have to fade them in this kind of price range. I get that. But to me, the timing of it, like if it was an opinion move on Utah, not goalie related, then it would have moved overnight. Then it would have moved maybe throughout the course of the day. It poured in the moment Jonas Korpisalo was confirmed in net. And to me, that makes me think the betting markets were moving because they just want to fade what they think is a bad goalie. Well, he's not a great goalie, but I'll tell you what, the guy he's starting instead of tonight, Swayman, he's a bad goalie right now. He's had a terrible season. So this idea that the timing of betting Utah is going to be simply because we see it's Korpisalo instead of Swayman, that's totally absurd to me. Because to me, Swayman's not been very good. And Korpisalo at times has been better. And in fact, I think I would still say I like a little more of what I've seen from Korpisalo than what I've seen from Swayman. So to me, it's peculiar that the goalie announcement is what got all this money on Utah here tonight for this game. And now, but thankfully, because of that, I'm now interested in Boston a little bit in this game. And I know Karel Vejmelka has been outstanding at times for Utah in recent games. But we'll see if he can keep that going here in this game against the Bruins. Bruins players apparently, they feel awful that their horseshit start to the year cost a good man his job in Jim Montgomery, and David Pasternak echoed those sentiments, no question. But they do really like Joe Sacco. They do. Everyone's had great things to say about Sacco and his time as an assistant/associate head coach with this team. And I think you get a great effort from Boston for one night. And this is one of those deals where I don't know if I'm going to be riding Boston if they win tonight. Probably that I don't know if I would do that. But for one night here, and Utah's been sketchy. Utah's been up and down a little bit lately, all over the place. I'm willing to go there with Boston tonight. So I'm going to go with Boston first period puck line, which is the look that I like the most. -0.5 plus 170 for Boston first period puck line. Going to go a little smaller on the money line, -130 on Boston. And I like over by Fecta here. Over 1.5 first period, over 6 full game. Especially that first period look. A lot of energy. A lot of, jumping out of your skates, if you will, first period with the new head coach, new interim head coach, although he's not really new because he's been on the coaching staff for a while. So 4 different looks for me. Probably like the Boston first period puck line or the Boston first period over 1.5 more than the rest, but we'll go a little smaller on the other 2 as well. Boston money line, Boston and Utah full game over as well. Alex, what do you think here in the first night with Joe Sacco as the interim, Utah, Boston?
Yeah, I expect a bump early in this game, but I don't know if it's going to be consistent throughout. Like they said, it's not necessarily a brand new coach. This is just an assistant moving up. So the feel of the room might be a little bit different as whether there was a clearing house and brought in a whole new head coach and assistants. And I think that's where the bump makes more of an impact. So I'm only on first period over. Vejmelka, like you said, he's been playing well, but we know he can be inconsistent at times. Korpisalo has played well, 3-1-1 in his last 5 starts, as mentioned in the chat. But we've seen him be inconsistent often at times. So this could be one of those games where we see the goalies maybe struggle a little early and then find their form. So I like first period over. I'm not on the full game over. I am also on the draw at plus 370. These are 2 teams that have played a lot of overtime hockey already. so far. I could definitely see this one being kind of close late. So I think goals early, and then the pace slows down, and it goes past 60. So first period
Yeah,
over,
I don't
and
I don't mind the draw. Yeah, I don't mind the draw look. There's been a lot of overtime game. Boston, 3 of the last 6 Boston games have gone past regulation. Utah earlier in the season was really playing a lot of overtime games, but remember, one of those earlier season overtime games was head-to-head with these two teams, the Bruins and the Utah Hockey Club in Utah. Remember, they went to overtime in that game. So, yeah, the draw does make sense based on what we've seen from both of these teams. Matt, what do you think here for Utah and Boston?
I think Alex makes a good point, and this was kind of what I was going to get into is, it's not really a big head coaching change. I think if they had signed somebody, off the streets, I would see a much bigger push. I do think, the sentiment of Marchand, of Pasternak, feeling like they let down Montgomery has some validity to them playing well, but it also could just be like, a mopey, we did this, we know it, but like also, we suck. Like, not that they would be like that. They are professional hockey players. There are good players on that team. There are guys that have won. I expect some sort of bounce back, but I don't think it's going to be like had they brought in a Quinville or somebody, off the streets that really is going to change the dynamic. I feel like it'll be like, those games
Yeah,
in
the
juniors where
unknown
head
commodity
coaches.
may be more fearful of than the known commodity. Whereas if it's someone that they just bring in from outside, they put the fear of God in you. And it's like, oh shit, we've got to really pick up our bootstraps now.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, this almost feels like, there were games in juniors where your coach is out sick and you've got your assistant coach on the bench, and it almost is a little more lackadaisical, which sometimes does amount in playing well, but just like there's a little less structure, a little less nerves. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see how they respond. I honestly like Utah here. I think, um, as Alex mentioned, I think Boston may have a jump early. I just think there's a lot of issues with that team, and there were reasons for Montgomery getting the boot, but I don't think he was the reason that this team has struggled as of recent. And so him leaving, there's still going to be a lot of things going on with this team that I can't trust. Um, there's a little bit of value. I would like it a little more. I may even wait and bet this live if Boston goes up 1-0 early. Then I may jump on Utah because you might get plus 250 or something along those lines if they go down right away. But I do like the first period over for the reasons Alex mentioned. Boston will have a little bit of jump. They will want to start well, and then it may end up kind of slowing down from there. And both goalies are sort of question marks. I do think I forget who you mentioned starting for Utah, but he has played well as of recent. But it is one of those things. Boston will sneak one past him. Utah's got the young legs. They goal or two early. We'll sort past that first period over, and then it could be a game that goes 1-1, 2-1, into overtime. So I do like the draw here too with you guys. But the main play for me, just the first period over here.
Yeah, to me, that's probably the better of the two. Like I said, I definitely like the first period. And Boston, too. I like the first period. I certainly like the price more on the first period puck line than I do the full game money line. That's for sure. So, yeah, that definitely, I think first period, you do get the jump from them. Like I said, at minus 170, I was not really going to get involved with, certainly not the full game money line at that price. I'm only on the full game money line because it dropped, 40, 50 cents like it has. It was only going to be first period puck line for me with Boston initially. But now we'll do the money line as well, with it being obviously coming down the way it has. If you're going to look at props, like Morgan Geeky, certainly there's going to be value. But if people are going to respond tonight, it's going to be either the veterans like Pasternak or Marchand, or someone that's been absolutely underwhelming so far, and that's like an Elias Lindholm. Maybe he has a new life of some kind tonight. With just a different voice behind the head voice, behind the bench, and Joe Sacco. So those would probably be maybe a Coyle as well, that maybe he can jump up and finally get something going, and they've expected more from him. I would look more at the veterans for props for Boston tonight in this first game after the coaching change, and take the mantle that, hey, we're the reasons our coach is gone. We didn't play well enough, although a lot of it's the roster construction, as we said. And like I said, be the ones that show that, hey, we're ready to move forward and try to turn this season around. I think for Utah, when you look at it, they've had different contributions from different players. Nick Bukestad, to me, is still the value guy. He has been very good on that top-line center spot with Keller and Schmaltz. So definitely think there's still great value for Nick Bukestad here tonight for the Utah Hockey Club. All right, Carolina, New Jersey. We've got even money, -110, both sides, 6 the total. For sake of time, speed things up a bit. I'll just say system play. It's first period over, full game over for me here. New Jersey off a shutout loss to Tampa Bay Saturday night, 4-0. They'll be looking to bounce back, so it's just a straightforward system play over by Fecta for me with Hurricanes and Devils tonight. But I'm riding it again, even with Carolina on a back-to-back. How can I not? With this trend of 12 of the last 13 games, Carolina has scored at least 4 goals, and we're getting +140 on a Carolina team total over 3.5 tonight. Now, it is back-to-back. They won 4-1 in Philly last night, but this team total's just been phenomenal. So we're taking it, and especially at that price, we're taking it, +140. Carolina team total over 3.5. Don't like it as much as I liked it last night when I used it as best bet, but I'm back on it. Alex, Carolina, New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm not tailing that. And like I said, it makes sense if you've been riding it, continue riding it at that price. I jumped on it last night and cashed it. And was lucky to cash it. I think that it didn't seem like it was going to be going that way. I needed those goal bursts late. But I do like obviously system play 1. I will be on that late $1.25 with the first period over, late 110 with the over 6. So I played that pregame, not waiting for the end game move.
Yeah, the ideal. Yeah, if you're on New Jersey, the ideal result for me would be 5-4 Devils. That would be great. Still get the team total, which is possible. Markstrom in net for the New Jersey Devils tonight, which we expected, obviously. They haven't played since that Saturday game. We do think it could be Spencer Martin tonight for the Carolina Hurricanes because Pyotr Kochetkov got the start last night in the game against the Philadelphia Flyers, which means we could see Spencer Martin. And like we talked about with Spencer Martin, he's off the shutout win against Ottawa. But, do you expect great dominant showings in net back-to-back nights from, journeyman goalie? Not always. So that is something to monitor here. And Freddie Anderson, by the way, just got announced earlier today. Yeah, it's another 8-week setback for him. Out at least another 2 months. He's got some things to work out, apparently some things to clean up. Yeah, clean up his whole fucking injury history at this point while you're at it. I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable how this guy just always befallen with injuries. And now, it's going to wipe out at least half of the season now, at the very least. And, what we'll be here on January 20th when he's about to come back, these 8 weeks fucking pass. And it'll be, well, it could be another couple weeks. Well, it could be another month. Oh, well, maybe shut him down for the season. My gosh, this guy with the injuries, Freddie Anderson, something else. It's a shame.
I feel terrible for Freddie Anderson.
Yeah,
I don't feel bad for the Carolina Hurricanes at all because you didn't have to put yourself through this shit again this year.
You know what he's been like the last few years: cotton candy and plastic body parts. Cannot stay healthy. Cannot stay ready for you and available. The best ability is availability. Carolina Hurricanes totally forgot that. It's slipped right through their brain, apparently, when it comes to Freddie Anderson. So you're right. They have nobody to blame but themselves on this one.
And the thing, if it wasn't for Antti Raanta deciding himself he's going back to Europe, they probably would be fucking with him too. They would have signed him at some point to a PTO or something as the third stringer.
Yeah, Canes are definitely going to be in the goalie market. The question is going to be, because I think they want to give Kochetkov a little support and a little bit more sturdier support, veteran support than, say, a Spencer Martin can deliver. So I think there definitely could be looking in that direction, depending on Freddie. Recovery from this, which is.
I would think Gibson would be moved before Bennington, because for Bennington to be moved from St. Louis means St. Louis has to get a goaltender back. They don't have anything brewing in the cupboard at all as far as goalie's concerned. So Gibson can be moved easily, where Anaheim would want something to turn. It doesn't have to be a goalie. But St. Louis would definitely, wherever they try to move Bennington, if they try to move Bennington, they need a goaltender in return that can play right now at the NHL level.
Well, as you know, I'm kind of at my wit's end with the shots on goal props, so I don't bet them as much this season or even toward the end of last year. But there's one to consider from Brian in the chat. 9 straight games he's gone over 1.5 shots, Jordan Martinook. So there you go, something to keep in mind if you want to ride that trend in this game tonight. Matt, what do you think here? Hurricanes, Devils.
Play. Again, I love the SGP. This one's going to be plus 125 if you take first period over, full game over at 5.5. And then if you hit that 6, it's a win. So I do think there will be goals in this game. I'm reluctant on the Hurricanes team total over just because I could see this being like a 3-3 game and then, the Devils winning over or something. I could see it being a 5-2 game. I think there will be goals. I lean New Jersey, just mainly given the back-to-back. I think this is two pretty good teams playing in decent form. Obviously, I have a prop on this game. I don't think that's a big secret. It probably will be my bargain bin because not only is it in bargain bin material, he's still on the top line. He was on NHL Network yesterday, and he's playing his old fucking team that didn't want to offer him what he wanted, to sign for. I've got a buddy that's
I think I might know who you're talking about. I think, yeah.
Yeah, and he wanted to stay in Carolina. He just wanted to be compensated. Not anything ridiculous, but what he felt he was worth. He wanted some term. He obviously proved himself in Carolina. He was great down the stretch for them. So I think there's a little bit of bad blood here. So I think that only adds to the fact that, I'm on the show. He's playing tonight. He's on the top line. He's getting power play minutes. He was getting FaceTime on NHL Network before the 4 o'clock or the 7 o'clock Eastern slate yesterday. Did a little 10-minute back and forth with Weeksy and those guys on there. So yeah, I love that, but I'll mention who at the end of the show for the one person in the chat that doesn't know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's a really hard time figuring out who that is, that the mystery player that Matt is referring to right now. But yeah, as far as the other props, like Roslovic keeps on scoring for Carolina. Robinson on the second line, there's value. You could Martinuk shooting the puck a lot right now, so obviously he's a threat. Obviously, to a score right now with that shot volume frequency for him. And then for New Jersey. All right, that's enough of the secrecy. It's Stefan Nason, and I agree. I actually agree. Of course, it makes sense. He's on the top line. He's been scoring. He's facing his old team. Didn't re-sign him. Makes all the sense in the world, no question. Paul Cotter probably worth a look, too, for the Devils with what he's been doing lately as well. All right, New York Islanders, Detroit Red Wings. Islanders minus 140, road favorites. The total 6 here, shaded to the under in this game. Still some injuries with Pellick and Riley on the blue line for the Islanders. Islanders lose in Calgary the other night. They had a 1-0 lead, but they lose 2-1 in a shootout to the Calgary Flames. They have started to slump here during this road trip that they have been on. They are now just 5-7 on the road, the Islanders. They've now lost 2 in a row against Seattle and Calgary. We'll see if they are able to bounce back here as they wrap up this road trip here tonight against Detroit, and then they go home to play St. Louis on Thursday night. Detroit, just a miserable West Coast swing. 3 losses to none of those teams. Well, LA's solid, but, you lose to Anaheim, LA, and then San Jose in overtime. The seat is heating up right now on Derek Lalonde. There is no question about that as the losses continue to mount here right now for this Detroit Red Wings team. It's really been defense and goaltending that's been their biggest problem of late. There's no doubt. It's going to be Alex Lyon tonight, who, at times he's been very good, and there's been times he's been better than Cam Talbot. But Talbot didn't have a great game against San Jose to end that road trip. And I'll be honest, the last 2 times we've seen Alex Lyon, it's been tough. He started out the season pretty well, but it's been a downward trajectory for him. He's given up 11 goals his last 2 starts against Anaheim and Winnipeg. So he needs a bounce back. We'll see if he can deliver it. Ilya Sorokin in net for the New York Islanders. He's up and down. Look, Detroit's a very tough team to back right now, but a system play is a system play, and that is what we have here. System play number 2, betting on teams after losing to the San Jose Sharks, is in effect here tonight in this game. 4-1 on the season, and the only loss in this situation was Columbus versus LA after Columbus lost to San Jose. But that's one of the worst teams going. Now, maybe Detroit's not that much better right now with the way they're playing, but every other team after losing to San Jose has won their next game. The angle's in effect. The system's in effect. It's 4-1 on the year, and they are getting a nice home dog price here. And look, the Islanders are very beatable right now. I mean, you're laying minus 140 on the road with an Islanders team that's got issues right now. Their offense has dried up again the last 2 games. They still have injuries on the blue line. I will take my shot here tonight with the Detroit Red Wings as a home underdog. Plus 120. System play number 2. Betting on teams after losing to San Jose. It's 4-1 on the year, and that says bet Detroit tonight. So I'm on it. Alex, what do you think here? Island and a little draw. How can we not with the Islanders? A little draw as well. Alex, Islanders, Red Wings.
Yeah, dog and draw, but I'm a little heavier on the draw. Like you said, we're rolling with system play too. But it's Detroit, they suck. The Islanders, they suck too. So it's kind of we're going back in the trend, getting plus money with a home dog on that system play too. So it is worth betting smaller, but I do think this could be one of those tight games. So maybe take a correct score shot with a 3-3 here. I might sprinkle small on that. And like I said, we're not doing that with every draw, but this is one where, considering it's the Islanders, and looking back, they've had most of their games that have gone to overtime been a 4-3 final. So I'll take a small sprinkle with correct score 3-3, small sprinkle with Detroit money line, and then a larger play on the draw. I got plus 360. It's now plus 350 at FanDuel.
Yeah, Detroit and draw for me as well. And look, yeah, I agree with Russell. You know, who the fuck are the Islanders to be laying minus 140 on the road right now? That is a big part of it. But at the same point in time, my concern is at the pizza box this year, Little Caesars Arena, Detroit is only 3-5. It's not making Mike Ilitch happy, who owns those Little Caesars pizza chains with the arenas named after. So, like I said, that home record, not great. But again, we're talking about the Islanders are having their issues right now, and they're laying $140. Detroit, and look, often off a road trip, West Coast, first game home, I don't like betting on teams. But when it's a bad road trip, it's an absolutely horseshit road trip like Detroit had. I definitely think Detroit hopefully brings it tonight. I think they will. And if they do, they can win this game because the Islanders are nothing special right now. Matt, what do you think here? Islanders, Red Wings.
This was honestly going to be a total pass for me, but I did forget about the system play. I forgot Detroit lost to San Jose the other night.
4-1.
And I do. And it seems like every time I'm on the show and you guys mention Islanders, I'm like, and I end up staying off it, and then it goes to fucking overtime. So I'm going to do small bets, Detroit money line and the draw. I mean, this won't be a game I watch. It'll be a game, if there's 10 minutes left and it's tied, maybe I throw it on and then cheer for the Red Wings in OT. So, it's crazy because I look at
You mean Islanders Red Wings is not going to get as much screen time for you as, say, Tampa and Vegas, Ottawa, and Carolina, Jersey, and Colorado, Washington? I can't believe that.
I'm doing the exact same thing, Matt.
No chance. But I look at the top 6 for Detroit. Like, they've got some good players, so it's wild how bad they've been playing at times. But then you kind of look down the depth of their lineup, and it makes a little more sense. But yeah, this will not be getting a lot of airtime, but I will put a little bit on Detroit. I think they need a bounce back game. They are at home. Maybe ownership told them they'll get a free Little Caesars pizza after the game or something. No, I'm kidding. Those guys probably don't eat that. But just give me those 2. That's it. I could see it going over. I could see it going under. I just don't really have much besides that.
I really am going to start believing in this system play number 2 if Detroit wins tonight, because you're right. There's not a lot to like at all about Detroit right now. Yet if they win tonight, that's really going to give us some hope for the future as far as system play number 2 is concerned moving forward. All right, next up as we continue along here, we've got San Jose and St. Louis. St. Louis Blues minus 210 home favorites, 6 being the total in this game. This is a back-to-back for the San Jose Sharks. They were in Dallas last night, losing 5-2 to the Stars. They'll be looking to rebound here on this back-to-back. It is their 3rd game in 4 nights, but no time zone change. Dallas to St. Louis is no time zone change. It is still the central time zone, so it doesn't fit that multi-time zone angle that I'm also tracking. Hasn't popped up in a while, but we do look for that. definitely. And that is not the case here for San Jose tonight. Meanwhile, St. Louis, they're off back-to-back losses to Carolina and Minnesota, albeit good teams. Yet you look back further, and 1-6 in their last 7 games, and the only victory was in Boston against the reeling Bruins in overtime, 3-2. So it's been a really tough run of it for the St. Louis Blues. See if they can bounce back. They have been given all kinds of problems and grief from this San Jose team. Going back to the first meeting last year, 5-1 San Jose in the tank. San Jose actually shut out St. Louis, if you can believe it, 4-0 in this building last year in March. And then in San Jose last April, it was 3-2 Sharks in overtime. Sharks won all 3 meetings last year against the Blues. Earlier this year, they opened up the season on opening night, and it was a 5-4 Blues win in overtime. And that was the game Macklin Celebrini got injured. And the Sharks got off to that great start with Celebrini in that first period. They had the lead, and then St. Louis came back and won. Who knows if St. Louis even wins that game on opening night this season if Macklin Celebrini didn't get hurt. So the bottom line is St. Louis at this price is pretty wild considering San Jose has been tough against them. And then you factor in the big debut tonight. You know who we're talking about. And yes, he is a goalie they went out and got from Nashville. They believe in him maybe being their future in net, the number one guy moving forward. With Blackwood playing last night, Vanacek being on the injured list, the stars were aligned that this could be the spot he makes his NHL debut, and it is indeed the debut of Yaroslav Askarov in net here tonight for the San Jose Sharks. Someone that we know has come with a lot of hype, ceiling, a high ceiling, all the skills to be very good at the NHL level. And when you look at his first 6 weeks in the AHL this season with the Barracuda, with that team down there, 6-3 with a 1.92 goals against average and a .939 save percentage. So phenomenal numbers, the American Hockey League. Now that is the AHL. See if he can deliver it here in the NHL. But it's not like St. Louis is ripping and roaring offensively right now. This is a team that has scored 2 goals or less now, the Blues, in 5 of their last 7 games. That's not exactly an offensive juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm taking my shot here. San Jose, plus 180, and I'm taking a shot on the draw because these teams have played multiple overtime games head-to-head. They went to OT the first night of the season this year. So this is big dog and draw for me with Sharks and Blues. Alex, what do you think here? San Jose, St. Louis.
Right there with you. Big dog and draw as well with Askarov starting. And I'd had this circle when they kind of talked about Askarov being called up. I said his first start, I'd be backing him. He's been tremendous in the AHL over the last couple of seasons. Of course, most of his time with Milwaukee when he was in the Nashville organization. But even getting traded, he opened up with the Barracuda, like I said, 2 shutouts, had great numbers. So I think that will translate over. I think he's going to be a quality goalie in due time over the years. And this will be the beginning of a good start for San Jose. So Sharks plus 180 along with the draw.
All right, Sharks and draw as well for Alex here with this one. And Binnington confirmed, by the way, in net for the St. Louis Blues. Second game back now for Robert Thomas. Predictably lost the first game back with him against Minnesota. That happens so often, obviously. You get one of your best players, arguably your best player back, you lose that first game. But like I said, Askarov, it's all about, can his performance down there transition to the NHL? If he was playing like a Washington or I'm trying to think the teams that are red hot right now, anybody playing at their best and scoring goals in bunches, maybe I'd be a little more fearful of taking San Jose on a back-to-back with Askarov in net. But this is a St. Louis team that is not exactly, like I said, clicking offensively right now. So it's a digestible first matchup for Askarov tonight, in my opinion, in the NHL level. What do you think here in this one, Matt? San Jose, St. Louis.
Give me the Sharks on the money line. I think it'll be a hype game. Given goaltender's first start, I think St. Louis is. I can't believe they're minus 210 against anybody right now. The Sharks. I know we've got a system play for teams that lose to the Sharks, but I mean they're playing. They've got a high
St. Louis will be a
there.
system play next game if they lose tonight. Good point.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like the Sharks here. I think I didn't really feel out of sorts that they were going to win last night, but they kind of stayed relevant. And I think I've flown from Dallas to St. Louis. It's like an hour and 20-minute flight. It's real easy. There's no altitude to factor in or anything like that. So I think San Jose bounces back, gets the win tonight. For Askarov, get him his first game. Obviously, there's a lot of hype around him. So, and those top couple guys on San Jose are fucking good players, and they're fun to watch. So, I think Dallas, contained them pretty well. Dallas has sort of a park the bus mentality when they're up 3-1. But I think tonight's game, you could see Celebrini get some more openings, some more ice, more availability. So, yeah, San Jose money line. Let's ride.
It is. There it is. It's a clean sweep of consensus here on the show with San Jose, thinking they could be live here tonight in this game against the St. Louis Blues in the debut of Yaroslav Askarov. Definitely going to be tuning in more to this game than I otherwise would because of the I want to see what the kid looks like here in his first start in the NHL. All right, we've got the Florida Panthers and Chicago Blackhawks. Next up, Florida, minus 240, road favorites. The total in this game, 5.5 at most spots, couple sixes, but most books have 5.5 with this total. The doldrums continue for Chicago. It's been just a tough run. What can you say? And the one thing Chicago can't afford, is Connor Bedard to be struggling, and he's kind of going through one of those ruts right now. And unfortunately, nobody else is kind of stepping up either. It's just been an offense that's been stuck in mud. It's now, 6 straight games with 2 goals or less for the Chicago Blackhawks coming into tonight. Definitely not what you want to see. And to make matters worse, too, is that was a winnable game for them against Anaheim. They had a 2-1 lead. They could not hold the lead, and they fall down 3-2 in the third, and they just could not tie that game. They didn't even get a really quality look or a great, brilliant, grade A chance down the stretch of that game against Anaheim. So that was really, really unfortunate to see that loss. And the worst part of that is you had that chance against Anaheim. It slips through your fingers. Now you got to welcome in a very angry Stanley Cup champion now, coming off a loss to the Winnipeg Jets in their last game, 6-3. I don't think will sit too well with them. We'll see if Chicago can handle the champs. It's certainly going to be an arduous, difficult task. Still just 2-5 this season at the United Center, the Madhouse on Madison. So not what you want to see. Yeah, I took Florida first period puck line and Florida team total over here. A couple of bets there. I don't see it with Chicago. Could they maybe if they catch Florida napping, they could surprise, and they did win last year at home against Florida, 5-2, but it was a completely different situation last year. Florida now coming off a game that they didn't play all that well in. They'll be looking to bounce back here tonight in this game. We've got Peter Mrazek confirmed for Chicago. We don't have a confirmation yet for Florida. Bobrovsky expected. Even if it is Spencer Knight. Spencer Knight's played better in some of his recent starts. They're capable. I think they come out strong. Like the first period puck line at plus 135 for Florida. And I like the team total for Florida for the full game, over 3.5. You can get that around minus 110, minus 112. Mrazek's been pretty solid at times, but I don't know if this is going to be one of those nights with, I think, Florida loaded for bear tonight coming off the Winnipeg game. Alex, what do you think here? Panthers, Blackhawks.
Yeah, this is not a good spot for the Hawks. Like I said, getting an angry Florida team. I think Florida's going to be able, not necessarily name their score, but they should definitely be able to cash that team total. I think they'll be able to get the win here. There's a reason why this number is lined the way it is, even though Chicago has won 2 of the last meetings at the United Center against Florida. Like I said, different situations here. There's a bargain bin play that I do like that I will have, but mostly on that Florida team total over as well. 3.5 minus $1.12 available at FanDuel.
Yeah, I think they can get to 4 here tonight in this. I mean, Anaheim got to 3, so Florida certainly could get to 4 here tonight, in my opinion. All right, Matt, what do you think here? Panthers, Blackhawks.
This is a tough spot. I mean, I obviously lean Florida here coming into this game. I'm not really in the mood to lay minus 240, though. I kind of lean to the overs, potentially an over by Fecta. On the off chance it's 1-0 and then ends, 4-1. That would be kind of a bummer. But I think Florida will come out and score some goals. So it's really dependent on if Chicago can get a couple as well. Then I feel really good about the over. But this may just be a pass game for me. I know we've got a big card tonight, so I know it's a little bit later of a game. I think it's 8:30 Eastern time. So this may be one of those days where I kind of feel out those early games. If it looks like it's going to be a goals galore kind of night, then I might jump on this with an SGP first period full game over. If it's the opposite and there's a lot of 1-0, 2-1 games going on in the early slate, then maybe I stay off this completely.
Yeah, that's a good point in the chat. If by chance Florida's trailing going into the third, they're a good live bet. You're right. Chicago's been, rough in the third period. Yeah. And they can't hold a lead against Anaheim in the third period. You would think if Florida is trailing after 2 periods, they would be live to maybe make a comeback here tonight in this game as well. All right, next up, we've got Minnesota and Edmonton, Wild and Oilers. Edmonton minus 160, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Tough spot for Edmonton. Coming back home off a road trip, never easy. We'll see if they're able to handle it here. But like I said, not exactly an easy spot for them. Coming home off the long road trip, and they ended the road trip in style, bouncing back from a couple of losses to Toronto and Montreal, beating Ottawa 5-2. We'll see if they can follow that up here. There's a lot of injuries that have stricken Edmonton. I know this, they got McDavid back, looked like they were starting to get healthier again, but Darnell Nurse put out because of the hit by Ryan Reeves. Zach Hyman has been ruled out for this game tonight. They're still without Victor Arvidsson. So there are still a couple of key absences here for the Oilers tonight. Meanwhile, this Minnesota team just keeps on keeping on. Very impressed with the way they've played. 4-2 win against St. Louis in their last game. Excellent road team, Road Warriors, 8-1-2. One regulation loss on the road this season for the Minnesota Wild. So they've played very well away from XL Energy Center. This is probably as good as I've seen Minnesota play on the road to begin a season in a long time, no question. There is some goaltending news here. Marc-Andre Fleury, the Flower, getting himself a start, his first start since we saw him against San Jose on November 7th, a game where Minnesota got a 5-2 win. His numbers are all right. 2.7 goals against, 904 save percentage. Not obviously the numbers that Philip Gustafsson has delivered for Minnesota, but he hasn't been bad by any stretch of the imagination. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. But 3-0-1 so far in the starts. They've still been able to win games with Marc-Andre Fleury in net. Yes, not nearly as good as Gustafsson so far this year, but they've still been able to win games with the Flower in net. I think there's a live road dog in this spot. And let's not underestimate that Minnesota has played Edmonton very well. They've won 8 of the last 10 meetings. They have very good numbers long-term here in Edmonton of being able to beat the Oilers. So I like this spot. I definitely like this price. You can get plus 140 here on Minnesota. So call of the Wild for me here. Minnesota plus 140. Also going to jump on the over 6 here. I do think there's been some over series trends as well. And with Fleury in net, maybe it opens the door for Edmonton to score more. And I think Minnesota can score on Skinner, who has not been at his absolute best in his recent starts. And Stuart Skinner will be in net for the Oilers tonight. So I like the over 6, and I like Minnesota at this price. Plus 140, one regulation loss for Minnesota this year on the road. 8-1-2, pretty damn impressive. What do you think here, Alex? Wild Oilers.
Yeah, it's gonna be a live bet game for me. I'm looking at that over as well, but I don't think I'm gonna wait and not even grabbing first period over. Full game over, wait for a 5.5. I think we could probably go maybe 5 or 7 minutes into this contest without a goal and grab that at a better price and number. So this is just everything I look for this is a later game. I'll probably be out watching it, so this will be a live play circle game for me.
All right, live bets for Alex when it comes to this one. All right, Matt, what about you? Minnesota, Edmonton.
I think I lean over in this one. First period and full game over, but I do think it might be either right before pregame or even a live look. Kind of feel out the pace. I don't really have a strong feel either way on sides. I think there's some value in Minnesota being plus 140. Edmonton is at home. I could see this game going either way. So don't really have a good sense as far as sides here. I think minus 160 is a little bit of an overprice for Edmonton. So if you do like Minnesota, I think there's value. But this will probably just be a potentially first period over, full game over by effective for me.
I was definitely surprised Edmonton was laying this much. There's still a lack of. It's been lack of, I guess, adjusting to the way Minnesota. I've adjusted Minnesota in my personal ratings. There's no doubt, and I don't think the betting markets have done that. I know, in fact, they haven't done that as much as I have, and so that's why I see it this like I had this closer to 35-40 with Edmonton as a home favorite, not 60. I mean, to me, that's a little bit rich the way Minnesota's been playing. So, like I said, Minnesota live dog in my opinion, great price plus 140 and over 6 for me as well in this one. All right, any props? I'm just trying to see here. Um, I don't love a ton of props in this game. It's usually the same cast of characters. Ryan Hartman, actually, there's one. Ryan Hartman is starting to. I could see him going on a bit of a run. He scored the other night against St. Louis. He's playing up the lineup a little bit again for the Wild, and he can be a streaky guy. So certainly someone you could look at there, maybe on the Minnesota side, no doubt. All right, final game now of this Thursday slate: New York Rangers, Calgary Flames. We've got the Rangers at the Saddle Dome here, laying minus 160 on the road. The total 6 shaded. Well, it's pretty much even money here with the total. If you like goaltending matchups, I can't wait to watch this, actually. We know Igor Shesterkin, one of the best goalies going right now, even though he's had a bit of a struggle here early in the season, much like last year. He had a slow start. He's kind of having a slow start again this year, but we know he'll find it. We know second half of the year in the playoffs, he'll be a guy you're going to be very fearful of in between the pipes. He'll get his game going to the level we know Igor Shesterkin can. And then at the other end, might be the hottest goalie going right now in the last few games, and that's Dustin Wolf, hungry like the wolf for the Calgary Flames. He has been marvelous. Talked about him ad nauseum on this show in the last few times we've talked about Calgary. This is going to be the 4th start in the last 5 games for him. His last 3 starts, how's this for numbers? 3-0, so undefeated in his last 3 starts. How about a .65 goals against and a .977 save percentage? Last 3 games for Dustin Wolf. He is absolutely feeling it. He is seeing the puck looks like a fucking beach ball right now to him at this point in time. He has been totally in control. What I'm impressed with is his lateral movement, square to the shot. He's definitely, I think, more athletic than he's given credit for when you look at his frame. Just really, really showing what he's capable of right now. So much so that I am very tempted by Calgary tonight. But it is a step up in class for the Flames. That's my one concern. Wolf's been great, but at some point you need to score. And you got to help out your goalie, and you got to give him quote-unquote run support. And although Calgary has won 3 straight Dustin Wolf starts against the Kings, the Predators, and the Islanders, well, let me tell you this, the Kings and the Predators, the way they've played, of course, underachieving so far, Nashville, and the Islanders, none of those teams hold a candle to what the Rangers can bring, offensively. So if Calgary struggles offensively, because let's be honest, even in the wins against LA, Nashville, and the Islanders, they scored 7 goals in those 3 games combined. Not a ton of offensive production. So that concerns me. No team has given up fewer goals per game on the road this year than the New York Rangers as well. They've been tremendous defensively on the road. Calgary's been excellent defensively at home as well. The numbers, both of these teams defend better where they're playing right now. Rangers been better defensively on the road. Calgary's been better defensively at home. I actually think this is an under waiting to happen here. And I don't know if I've got it in me to actually bet it, but I sure as hell lean under in this game because I think you've got Shesterkin looking to prove a point, get on a roll, start to work out of these early season struggles. And then on the flip side, you got Wolf, who's impenetrable right now, the way he's played in the last 3 starts, although the Rangers are going to be a bigger test for him than Nashville, the Islanders, and the LA Kings were, no question. But I think he's up for it. I think he's playing really well right now. I'm tempted by Calgary. I don't know if I bet it. If I do, it'll just be small. But the under, I think it's going to be a nice goalie battle tonight in Cowtown. Canada's Cowtown, I should say. Alex, what do you think here? Rangers, Flames.
Yeah, I'm on the under 6. I'm laid $1.10 at Caesars with that. I'm on the draw. I grabbed 360. I haven't seen if that has moved. That might have moved a little bit, but I like 360. Grab that at FanDuel. And this, I did play correct score. 2-2 at 12-1 over at FanDuel. I think this is a definite low and slow game. Like you said, 2 of the best goalies in the league right now, battling 2 great defensive teams. Like you said, the defense on the road of the Rangers and the defense at home of Calgary both have been outstanding. So things neutralize each other out. give me 2-2 draw after 60. Hope to cash that one again. That'd be really nice. But definitely staying away from a side here. It's all hands on deck once it goes to OT. Probably would lean toward Rangers. Obviously, they have the firepower. So if this does go overtime, I might have that live circle toward Rangers.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this matchup. Really, the overall matchup, but especially what we're going to see in net with Shesterkin and Wolf. Very, very intrigued by it. And look, for Wolf, this is going to show a lot for him. Because look, he's got more artillery to deal with tonight than he has in the last 3 games. And he was great in those 3 games. But Rangers can throw a little more firepower and weaponry at you offensively than the Kings, the Predators, and the Islanders. So we'll see how Dustin Wolf handles that here tonight. Matt, what do you think here? Final game, Rangers Flames.
You're scaring me, Ian, because I like the under here too, but I know when you take an under, it usually means it's going to be a 7-6 game. So
anything.
But no, I'm on the same page. Again, I rarely, if ever, bet unders. But this is a matchup where I haven't been super impressed with either team offensively, and I've been, impressed with Woll. And then obviously Shesterkin on any given night can get the donut. So I think it'll be an under game for me. What are we, November 21st? And this will be the first under I've bet all season. So everyone in the chat, feel free to take the over. It may be a 6-5 game, but I do think it'll be a low and slow game in Calgary. And obviously the late game, not sure I'll tune into this one. I'll just hope when I wake up, it's a 2-1 final or something like that.
I actually love watching a good goalie battle. I do.
Me too.
And I think, I
I'll
think
be
you could look like we really like Dustin Wolf. We do collectively. Like I said, and as I said, because the ginger will get the bread at some point if he keeps this up for the Calgary Flames. Because like I said, he's got the potential to have the goods to be the next, because they have been looking for number 1 bona fide goalie material since Mika Kiprasov, who they just honored, of course, last year with his jersey retired at the Saddle Dome. That's how long it's been since they've had that surefire, no question about it, undisputed number 1 goalie. And this might be the guy that they finally have that in since Mika Kiprasov with Dustin Wolf. So looking forward to that tonight, the Rangers and the Flames. I don't want to go mention too many props because I don't know how many goals there are going to be in that game. But I will say, if you're looking at the Rangers, keep going to the well with Will Cooley, Kakko. That line has been very good lately for the Rangers. I could see them getting on the board. All right, shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. A big Thursday slate on tap. Make sure you sign up if you haven't already. Patreon.com/IceGuys. Just $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, all the bonus content. We've got exclusive live betcast for Patreon members only coming up in the new year as well. And of course, every single day, sides, totals, player props posted every day on the page, including Tampa Columbus. Once we get confirmation, we'll have updated card once we get word of what's going on there. So again, that's an advantage you have of being a Patreon member. $10 per month. Your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show. So make sure you sign up. Just $10 per month, patreon.com/IceGuys.
You also check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Save 15% off of all items. At checkout, hit the redeem button at the top of the page. That's now through Sunday. 15% off of all items right now at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
You guys in the chat, I mean, you're that, there's so many comments about Matt just stirring around there in his room. Who cares? It doesn't bother me one bit. Maybe he's getting some exercise there. It's all good. It's nothing wrong. It's not making me, nervous or anything like that. Who cares? It's do your thing, Matt. It's not a big deal.
I love it. it.
I know people in the chat are, it's giving me ADHD and all this. Nah, nonsense. Nonsense, crazy stuff. All right. Best bets. Bargain bin special of the night coming up in just a moment right here, coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsor.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Manscaped, Power Play Sportsman, Raise Your Game, Tailgaters Social. And a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
All right, make sure, shout out to all our great sponsors, including, of course, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code ICEGUYS at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Lots to choose from, obviously, a big Thursday slate.
Yeah.
Alex, what do you like for the bargain bin special?
Yeah, we're going with another favorite, a recent favorite, and the price hasn't been adjusted one bit, even though he is still the top line center for the Chicago Blackhawks. That is the Trooper, Jason Dickinson, plus 550. That's insane. This guy scored 2 goals the last game. He's been on a hot streak. I expect him to continue that, at least get 1 goal tonight. So the Trooper, Jason Dickinson, plus 550 at FanDuel, anytime goal scorer. Let's get another one here. The bargain bin special tonight.
Yeah, that's going to be on a bet that I make as well, no doubt. I mean, he scored their only 2 goals against the Anaheim Ducks the other night. Jason Dickinson, the Trooper, plus 550. It's still a great price. A good bargain bin special selection from Alex B. Smith for tonight. Matt, what do you like for your bargain bin special? I think I kind of know.
Yeah, as I said earlier, got to take Stefan Nason anytime goal prop. I'm seeing it about plus 330. Everybody knows that it's lucky when I'm on the show, or it tends to hit sometimes, but he's playing his old team. He's on the top line. As I mentioned, it's not that there was bad blood with Carolina, but he did want to stay, wasn't able to, unfortunately. So I think there's a little bit of a chip on his shoulder heading into this game. And I think, Carolina on the back-to-back, there's a lot of factors. So let's fucking keep rolling with it. Stefan Nason anytime goal tonight. I probably will throw a little on his on him scoring the first goal as well. I have noticed that when he does score in games, it's not that uncommon for it to be the first goal. I think he's got 3 or 4 this year at least. So, Stefan Nason anytime goal. Let's get it.
There we go. Stefan Nason for the New Jersey Devils against his old team, the Carolina Hurricanes. That angle is in play for that. Stefan Nason plus 360, best price currently at FanDuel for Matt with his bargain bin special of the night. My bargain bin special of the night, lots to choose from here as well. I am going to go to Colorado, Washington, though, and make the case for Andrew Mangiapane, plus 530 at Betano, taking the Ovechkin spot alongside Strome and Protas on the top line for the Washington Capitals. And again, a great price, certainly, to get him on that top line spot. Plus 530, Andrew Mangiapane for the Washington Capitals for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Let's go up to Calgary. I like that late night game. I think it's going to be a low and slow contest, and I think it goes late into the evening. So give me the draw with the Rangers and the Calgary Flames plus 360. That's my best bet for this Thursday night.
There you go. Rangers Flames draw for Alex with his best bet for this Thursday slate. Matt, what do you like here? Best bet.
Was on mute. I'm going to go to that Washington Colorado game. I know a lot of times my best bets first period over or a full game over. We're going to hit the Matty Rob special SGP. I'm seeing it at plus 110 on MGM. So that's going to be the first period over at 1.5. Need 2 goals in the first, and then the full game over at 5.5. So we just need 2 in the first, 6 total, and get that plus money. So same game parlay special in the Washington Colorado game. That's my best bet tonight on 11/21.
There you go. Good stuff. Best bet there for Matt Robinson for best bet here for this Thursday slate. There we go. Get everything in order. All right, my best bet. Had a lot of totals recently for best bets. Let's go with a side. And I actually almost went bold with Buffalo last night and didn't, but they did still get it done. I almost went with Buffalo as best bet. So I've got another dog I really like tonight, and we talked about it. I think the spot's good. They're playing great on the road. They catch a team coming off a road trip. They've dominated this series, particularly in this building. Minnesota Wild, plus 140 against the Edmonton Oilers. I think the Wild are very live tonight in this game. Minnesota plus 140 against Edmonton for my best bet here for this Thursday NHL slate. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Tuesday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, and Monday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith and Matt Robinson, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We are back tomorrow on Friday for another edition of the Ice Guys.